Did you know a single piece of glass could cost a cowboy months of wages? For most folks, the homesteaders, the miners, and the ranch hands, life was a never-ending financial struggle. The things that cost a real fortune were often the things we take for granted today. Imagine this. The average cowboy living in an arrangement that included room and board only made about $25 to $30 a month. An unskilled laborer, maybe $1 to $2.50 a day. That means any item costing just a few dollars was a major sacrifice, and anything over $100 represented months or even a year of a working man's entire life savings. The true fortune on the frontier wasn't made in the gold fields, but in the general store ledger, and the prices had almost nothing to do with the item's actual value. It was all about the logistical nightmare of hauling weight and fragile goods across a vast, unmapped continent. The cost of simply getting to the West set the stage for everything that followed. 1. Overland freight costs. The journey itself was the first major investment. The cost for a family of 4 to travel from Missouri to Oregon in 1845, including the wagon, the oxen, and supplies, was about $1,000. When you index that to a modern financial equivalent, that single journey cost well over $36,000. Westward expansion was reserved for those who already had significant capital. Because the wagons were slow and had limited capacity, the cost of moving goods became a massive multiplier. Every pound of freight was a precious commodity. 2. Stagecoach travel. If you needed speed and relative safety, you took the stagecoach. A long-distance fare could easily cost up to $200. Think about that. $200 was 6 to 8 months of a typical cowboy's monthly earnings. Stagecoach travel was a monetized luxury used by merchants and government officials, the wealthy. The ability to travel quickly and minimize risk gave the capitalized class an immense advantage. 3. Finished lumber and millwork. In many parts of the arid West, finished housing was a luxury item. While you could slap together a basic shanty with a dirt floor for $25, a substantial 4-room house cost approximately $700. That $700 cost represented nearly 2.5 years of a laborer's income. The materials, especially the finished lumber, had to be shipped from distant forests or coastal mills, incurring massive freight costs. A permanent, high-quality structure immediately and visibly separated the successful rancher from the transient settler. 4. Iron nails and essential hardware. Iron and steel hardware were heavy and dense, and typically had to be imported from eastern manufacturing hubs. Transporting these items was incredibly expensive. We know a set of plows and field cultivators cost $325. Because of this financial burden, early settlers often built structures using traditional wooden joinery and pegs, relying on carpentry skill instead of costly manufactured iron nails. 5. The glass window pane. This is perhaps the best example of the high cost of fragility combined with weight. The freight costs, handling fees, and inevitable breakage rates for shipping glass panes were simply prohibitive. Consequently, many frontier dwellings used cheaper, less effective materials like oiled paper. The presence of large, clear windows was a definitive, visible marker of economic stability. The poor, by contrast, resided in dark, drafty structures, essential staples and the cost of flavor. Items that are basic necessities today commanded exorbitant prices on the frontier, often because they required complex processing and vulnerable supply chains. 6. Refined sugar. Refined sugar was a manufactured product that required significant processing and high-cost, long-distance importation. While it might have been only 13 cents per pound at the high end, that single pound was about 1/10 of a daily wage for a low-paid worker. A small family buying just 5 pounds a week would spend over a quarter of their $1-a-day wage on this single non-essential item. The working class often had to rely on the cheaper alternative, molasses. 7. Roasted coffee. For the miner, the cowboy, and the traveler, coffee was more than a comfort. It was an expected daily staple. This high demand for an imported commodity kept prices high. Roasted coffee often cost between 23 and 42 cents per pound. At the high price of 42 cents, a single pound consumed 3 to 4 hours of an average unskilled laborer's daily pay. The supply line was vulnerable, forcing the poor to perpetually spend a fortune slowly on this daily necessity. 8. Oolong tea. Even more expensive than coffee was tea, specifically oolong tea, which fetched prices between 54 and 69 cents per pound. As an exotic import requiring transatlantic or transpacific shipping, it was a high-end luxury item. For a worker earning $1 a day, a single pound of tea required spending over half their day's wages. 9. Flour. Flour was the basis of nearly all frontier sustenance, and its price was subject to devastating volatility. While a barrel typically cost $3, extreme price spikes during scarcity could send it soaring to $12. That $12 price tag represented 5 to 12 days of labor. The most fundamental item for survival could suddenly become unaffordable, showing how the merchant class often profited most by controlling these staples, a practice known as mining the miners. 10. Barrel of salt pork and cured meats. Reliable, non-perishable protein was essential for survival. A barrel of salt pork could reach $9 or even $16.12 in various markets. This enormous upfront capital investment represented 8 to 16 days of a low-wage worker's labor. The high price was due not only to the meat, but also to the preservation method, which relied on expensive shipped salt. 11. Lard and cooking fats. Lard, the necessary fat for cooking calorie-dense frontier meals, cost between 6 and 12 cents per pound. While cornmeal was cheap, the cost of cooking fats was essential and recurring. The expense reflected the labor and logistical difficulty of safely rendering, storing, and transporting perishable fats in warm frontier conditions. Capital goods and the cost of independence. True economic independence in the West relied on owning specific capital goods, the price of which kept most workers trapped in a cycle of dependency. 12. A good saddle horse. The horse was the single most important tool and status symbol for a cowboy or rancher. A functional workhorse cost $150, but a fine saddle horse was priced at $200. This $200 investment was approximately 8 months of a cowboy's nominal monthly wage. This immense cost meant that most itinerant laborers couldn't afford to own their primary means of production, trapping them in the and-found system where the employer provided the horse and board, but maintained control over the workforce. 13. The working cowboy saddle. Equally vital was the saddle. A high-quality customized cowboy saddle cost $60. The total capital required for basic mobility, a good horse and a good saddle, was $260. This fundamental gear cost 12 times more than a Colt Peacemaker. This economic reality proves that the frontier prioritized practical, productive capital like mobility over the perceived necessity of firepower, sharply contrasting with the Hollywood myth. 14. Yoke of 2 oxen. For the homesteader or freight hauler, oxen provided the durable motive power for heavy wagons and plows. A yoke of 2 oxen cost $150. This price was equivalent to 6 months of a laborer's pay. It was a massive, mandatory upfront cost for any family attempting to establish an agricultural enterprise. 15. A quality repeating rifle. While the iconic Colt Peacemaker revolver was relatively accessible at $17 by mail order, a quality repeating rifle, such as the Winchester lever action, cost between $40 and $50. This $50 price tag represented close to 2 months of a laborer's wages. The rifle, superior for hunting and long-range defense, was a major investment, reflecting the advanced manufacturing technology required for reliable multi-shot weaponry. 16. Ornamental and specialty knives. Functional utility pocket knives were cheap, but specialized highly ornamental knives could command prices up to $120. A knife at this price cost 4 months of a cowboy's wage, far exceeding the cost of multiple firearms. This exorbitant price was not based on utility, but on craftsmanship and exotic materials. highlighting that a high-end consumer market for status items existed even in rough frontier towns. The exorbitant price of services, information, and safety. The most unpredictable and sometimes the most financially punishing costs were those driven by time, specialized knowledge, and geography. 17. The long-distance telegraph message. Instantaneous information was the lifeblood of commerce, and the cost reflected its immense value. Even after rates dropped to 50 cents in the 1870s and 1880s, a 10-word message cost half a day's wage for an average worker. This speed advantage was monetized to create a high financial barrier, ensuring that the economic advantage of timely market knowledge was largely reserved for the wealthy. This is dramatically shown by a diplomatic cable sent in 1866 that incurred a staggering $20,000 charge. 18. Remote medical house call surcharge. Access to medical care was deeply unequal based on where you lived. A doctor often charged an additional 50 cents per mile for a house call. For a family living just 20 miles outside of town, a single visit would cost $10.50, equating to 4 to 10 days of labor. This prohibitive logistical surcharge effectively priced remote settlers out of essential care, forcing them to rely on home remedies or desperate acts, sometimes trading goods or services just to afford the service. 19. Clean, unpolluted water in mining towns. In regions with intensive mining, the necessity of clean water became an enormous, persistent expense. Mining operations caused severe contamination, polluting critical watersheds. Obtaining clean, potable water in dense, polluted boomtowns became a high-cost commodity. The long-term financial burden of this pollution, the cleanup costs and the cost of illness, was immense, an externalized economic fortune paid by the community. 20. Fresh fruit. Fresh produce was highly susceptible to price variations based on its distance from the source. In Arizona in 1870, imported Sonora apples cost $1 per dozen and grapes cost 50 cents per pound. A price of $1 per dozen for apples consumed nearly a full day's wage, turning a simple, nutritious snack into a genuine luxury. Consequently, preserved alternatives like dried apples and dried figs were far more common and economically feasible. Clothing and domestic comforts. Before industrialization reached scale, textiles and manufactured household items were considered capital goods. 21. Fine and fashion textiles. Clothing was historically costly because of the intensive hand labor required. During the volatile Civil War years, fashion textiles like calico and gingham reached staggering prices, climbing to $3, $4, or even $5 per yard. Purchasing the necessary 5 to 10 yards of fabric for a simple dress could cost $25 to $50, equivalent to 1 or 2 months of a laborer's income. Because of this high cost, clothing was often a cherished asset, frequently repaired, and sometimes even bequeathed in wills. 22. Custom cowboy boots. For those working on the range, factory-made boots were inadequate. Custom-made cowboy boots, essential for durability and function, cost between $15 and $23 in the 1870s. This specialized footwear consumed 2 to 3 weeks of a working cowboy's salary, reflecting the high value placed on skilled leather work and resilience. 23. Cook stove. The cook stove represented a substantial upgrade in frontier living, providing reliable, contained heat and improved safety. A standard cook stove cost $25. This cost was equivalent to 1 full month of a cowboy's wage. As a heavy manufactured item, its price was significantly inflated by transportation, making it a major one-time domestic investment critical for household stability. 24. Gentleman's toilet set. A gentleman's toilet set, which included items like a toothbrush, razor, nail brush, and comb, costed $1 in 1872. While nominally small, $1 represented a full day's wages for the lowest paid worker. Spending an entire day's income on non-essential grooming and hygiene products demonstrates that personal care items, disposable today, were considered distinct consumer luxuries on the frontier. 25. labor and delivery medical services. A necessary service for family stability, the cost of medical assistance during childbirth was listed at $4. This was equivalent to 4 days of income for a laborer earning $1 per day. When combined with the high potential for a remote house call surcharge, the expense of a safe childbirth was a significant, unavoidable financial stressor for most frontier families. The economic reality of the Old West reveals a fundamental truth. The greatest costs were not in the intrinsic value of the materials, but in the complexity of logistics, weight, fragility, time, and distance. The ultimate fortune to be made lay not in finding gold or raising cattle, but in controlling the supply lines. The high cost of basic goods and essential capital equipment created a self-perpetuating cycle of dependence for the working class. So which of these forgotten costs of the Old West shocked you the most? The price of a stagecoach ride, a sack of flour, or a clean window pane? Let me know in the comments below, and let's get a good conversation started about the true economic battles of the frontier. And if you enjoyed this historical deep dive, please consider liking this video, subscribing to the channel for more great history content, and sharing it with a friend.